A 2019 animated family fantasy feature, the third in this series after How to Train Your Dragon, How to Train Your Dragon 2, along with two television series, one on Netflix, one preceding Netflix, I'm not sure where it was. I haven't seen the TV shows, I've only seen the two movies, so I'm coming to this just from that information here. And it makes a capper for all of this, effectively closing out the series, completing the trilogy, and I don't know if the TV show is going to continue in any way. I'm not sure where that's at in the timeline, so that might continue here, but as a story, we did reach a conclusion in How to Train Your Dragon: The Hidden World. Dean DeBlois, who is returning as he's written and directed all three of the segments so far. The first in the series is co-written and co-directed by Chris Sanders, who worked with Dean to create Lilo and Stitch in the early 2000s, though he has not continued into the series after the first. And the franchise is based upon a series of children's novels. I think there's 12 the last time I checked, maybe more from now, by Cassandra Cowell. I've read the first 4 or 5 and I find them pretty good. I like the ideas more than I like the execution, and I think that this film series and this TV series has taken what seeds of good ideas are in the books and transformed them into something bigger and better within the course of the 3 movies and the 2 television shows. It's been a great series to watch as a whole, going from the first to the second to now to the third. I've rewatched both of these in the past week before watching this new film, which is why it's a little delayed here, because I was waiting for that copy to arrive before I got to watch it. And it's one of the great things about watching each of these in succession, because I watched this one last week, watched this one the other day, then watched How to Train Your Dragon: The Hidden World yesterday, is watching as the animation gets better and better each one. That has solid animation, still solid when you watch it now, but you do see where it was in 2010, then 2014, and now in 2019, 5 years later. It's leaps and bounds, but it's still amazing. It's how much it's increased, because it's great animation. It's been great animation the entire time, and that's definitely one of the high points of the series, though everything else about the series comes together. The character work, the humor, the emotional core that comes out of it, with the series being developed from the books from Chris Sanders and Dean DeBlois, coming from Lilo and Stitch, which has an incredible heart along with great character work, great look. What's funny about being Lilo and Stitch, and I was thinking about that, is like how much Toothless kind of looks like Stitch with a different face, with different color, and of course different body. And that's just a odd thought there. That doesn't mean these works as films, not the Stitch look, but the heart and emotional backing that comes with the films here. It does have the standard I want to be something different than my family wants to be for Hiccup, voiced by Jay Baruchel throughout the entire series. In fact, everyone comes back to voice everyone, the same people. Like, exception of TJ Miller, between part 2 and part 3, he did have that issues, which you can go read online, I'm not going to link into here, which he was replaced by a replacement voice actor who's doing his best to sound like TJ Miller. It's a couple points I think, is that actually him? Did they fire him halfway through? But I'm not going to look into that, just leave that where it is, because he plays Tough Nut with Kristen Wiig playing his sister, Rough Nut. 2 side characters in a series of side characters. That's one, I'm just going off on a little diatribe here, but whatever the hell. That's one issue that there is with the series, is that each of the set of side characters are all goofballs in different ways. And they're heartwarming goofballs, and I do enjoy them, but sometimes a little overused, a little too silly for the sake of what's going on. They're kind of not seen as much in the second film, and they come back as much as they were in the first for this one. This one does follow this kind of the same plot as the second feature. In the first film, Hiccup finds that the dragons they've been hunting and killing are actually decent creatures. They're essentially cats with some dog and horse elements, that they can be trained if you just treat them right and find out what they're looking for. Second film picks up 5 years later, after he convinces the rest of his Viking village that he can teach them and they can change and learn and grow as a whole village, as persons, to find out what they knew before was incorrect and what they needed to go for. So there is that young person wants to do something different, and now has to convince everyone else that different is good. And How to Train Your Dragons 2 and 3 both find an outside force of dragon hunters who are trying to kill or capture the entirety of the species as they come into conflict with Hiccup and his gang. In the second film, it was Drago, voiced by Djimon Hounsou, who was originally supposed to return as Drago for this one, but halfway through production he was scrapped to create a new villain, Grimmel, voiced by F. Murray Abraham. He's an interesting villain. He's smart, he's strong, he sets traps. He's kind of the opposite of Draco from last time, who's more of a blunt force coming in, wiping out everything with this, like, essentially a club over the head. Instead now we have Grimmel, who will set up in planning a bunch of steps ahead. He's a little underused, and he's a little one note for his backstory with where he goes. It's kind of like, here's the setup, and we know that he's smart and overthinking Hiccup, and that's really about where he comes out. After that point, he kind of becomes a standard villain. He's interesting to watch. He's not badly written. He's not badly performed at all. But the focus here is definitely more on Hiccup and his gang. We occasionally pop over the villains. The animation is wonderful. It's bright. It's colorful. It's got a lot of movement. The designs are really... There's a lot of creativity within this as we learn more about this world. And the hidden world itself is really pretty. It's kind of underseen. It's more of a for the title than it is anything else, like the Harry Potter and the blanks, and the blanks might only come through for 5 or 10 minutes of the film. But ultimately what makes this series work as a whole is that emotional core. As Hiccup grows up, as everyone grows up, they find who they are, and it's not written in a very trite way. It's a story, as I said, we've seen before. There's only so many stories you can tell, and maybe so many ways you can tell them, but it's how you tell them, and the heart that comes out from underneath it, the love that they want to show here. As he connects more with his mother, who he's still missing for the first 20 years of his life, and now he's replacing his father who passed away in the second film. Spoilers. And then kind of him and Astrid finding out where they're at with their own love life, if they want to get married, if they want to wait for a while, and the throes of leadership he's been tossed into. Is he doing the right thing? Is he making the right decisions? People are leading up to him. People are looking at him, and that's a lot of pressure on Hiccup. It's a lot of pressure on Astrid, on the mom, on everything else. Because everything, they don't really have any downtimes, as they have continual threats against them. And it's the reactions to the threats, the right thing to do. And that's a really driving force. And Jay Baruchel really does a great job of getting that through with Hiccup. As the series has continued, you hear his voice get older. You hear his maturity coming through, but also in his unsurety. Hiccup's a very brave person. He's very unsure about his bravery, and that's what makes him relatable as a hero, is that he's not just rushing in, I know what I need to do, and doing the right thing at all times. Some decisions he makes are wrong, and that as through the series goes out, he makes mistakes, and he learns from them, and everyone learns, everyone grows. It's how you take these changes and take these ideas and run with them in a different way. And the connection that Hiccup has with Toothless is more of the heart, is even more heart in an already emotional film. You just see them, you see the way that Toothless moves and the way that Hiccup reacts to him, and just warms you. Anyone who loves their pet, who loves especially cats, because this dragon, as I said, these are mixtures of dogs, cats, and horses, depending on how you want to look at it. I find a lot of the movements and actions and character work to be way more cat-like than they are dog-like. It's really amazing with Toothless in the animation of how much of his emotion, how much of his character work is done without any voice, because of course he's a dragon, he doesn't speak. They do speak in the novels, but that's a great decision to take that away, because it allows really clever uses of how he looks and how he turns, and there's this fun little this looks and sniffs that these aren't grand moments, these are small movements. They feel like an actual animal in the way that their skin ripples and the way that their muscles move. It feels like a musculature underneath the skin of the dragons, and that really helps give them character. They aren't just a creature, they are a living being with their personality, with their ideas. You can see everything that he's thinking, and it's really amazing work to the animators. How to Train Your Dragon: The Hidden World is a great way to end this wonderful series. I really enjoy this film. It's a lot of fun with great animation, wonderful character work. One thing in animation I forgot to mention earlier, it's really cool about the movie, you do see Hiccup's stubble grow as the weeks or days go by. And it's really cool. It's a really nice touch to see where everyone's at, and that's just showing where everyone's grown over the last 6 to 10 years that the series has occurred over. It's not the same animation, just made a little better as the 9 years between the beginning to the end, but also as everyone's grown, and they feel like older versions of their characters that aren't betraying them in any way, and also aren't just immediately copying from. He's like 50 in the first movie, he's in his 20s in this one, and that definitely feels growth, and character growth throughout the series has been amazing in that manner. It just shows the effort that's gone into the writing that then transfers into the animation for the dragons, for everyone there. The only thing lacking is essentially the same story as the second film, but it does use that same story to build more character work, thus making it a just below the second film. Ultimately, I ranked the first one highest, followed by the second, and then right below it the third. Of course, I've only seen this one time. I have seen the other ones a couple times, and as time goes by, we'll see where things go. I will eventually watch the television show, pop in there, and see how it fits with everything. This is a wonderful end to this series. There is definitely an ending point. We can possibly see something continuing, but this story, as we see it, has reached a conclusion, and that conclusion, if you don't cry at the end, I don't know if you don't have a heart or not, because it's so touching, and it doesn't feel a forced touching that's trying to get these emotions out of you. It just feels natural with the way everything has extended over time. So I'm gonna give How to Train Your Dragon: The Hidden World an A-. So follow me at cityofgeek.com, facebook.com/cityofgeek. Like, share, and subscribe right down there. Check out what's coming up here soon. We'll have the Stephen King retrospective intro coming up on the 10th, along with the look through the entire Pink Panther series on the 5th. So there's a couple things coming up. Check out the arc. Go to our podcast. I've got everything coming up there on cityofgeek.com. And thanks, and have an excellent day. And I'm gonna go ride a dragon. That sounds dirty, but no.